get them to the end and to be racy at the end as well, to be able to maybe get that opportunity. So the guy's trying to conserve as much fuel as he can, but not lose touch with that car right in front of him.
Save the fuel, save the car, save the tires. Jan Beekes?
Well, Paul, you're talking about, in particular, Danny mentioned those top 3 cars being Firestone. Well, Goodyear knows that they're at a disadvantage now on a street circuit, and they made a decision on Friday evening that they are going to work flat out. They're going to close down one of their plants and build new tires to be ready for Long Beach. They realize that Firestone has that advantage, and they don't want it to last too long. So Goodyear is going to burn the midnight oil leading in the next 2 weeks up to Long Beach.
You know, I still, as many years as I've been watching this, I still find it amazing that the tire can be improved, can be changed, all the work that they do and make things faster. You would think it's the one component on the car that would have stabilized years ago.
Well, you would, but when you get 2 tire manufacturers in it, everybody wants to make a little bit better tire than the next guy. Don't forget, they don't have to change much in construction or anything. They just got to change the mix of that rubber that's on there just to give it a little bit more grip.
There's Gil de Ferran running in 6th place, trying to catch up to Mauricio Gugelmin and battle for position. He's been coming back up through the field.
But don't forget, the one guy that's right in front of him on the road is Al Unser Jr., the guy that he tangled with earlier in the race.
And a wonderfully easy guy to pass.
Oh, yeah.
Back at the front of the field, Jimmy Vasser. Now 2.19 seconds ahead of 2nd place Scott Pruitt. And I think on the straightaways here, where he tends to increase the lead, that you're seeing as a product of engine versus engine.
It is, but again, Paul, that could be where does he have that fuel mixture set and where does Scott Pruitt have it set? And that can be a bigger factor than even the engine.
Honda versus Ford Cosworth. Again, too, you know, here we're talking a formula. Turbocharged engine, 161 cubic inches, has been around forever. And yet the engine manufacturers make them more powerful, make them faster. And what's really impressed me is they have made them more reliable. First, second, in the interval, just over 2 inches, Andrew Ribeiro locks him up. Gets it stopped.
Didn't hit anything. If he kept that motor running, of course, he might be able to get pushed back and get going again. And the car, by the way, is supposed to, by the regulations, have reverse in it. It's sometimes difficult. It doesn't always work, but they're supposed to have reverse in that car.
So at Surfers Paradise, it's Vasser, Pruitt, Greg Moore, Raul Boesel, Mauricio Gugelmin, de Ferran, Christian Fittipaldi, Stefan Johansson, Eddie Lawson, and Andre Ribeiro. And just over the edge of the track, the Surfers Paradise Marriott. And boy, I'll tell you what, when they weren't on the track, a lot of the teams were here doing things like this, scuba diving in their pool. It's so big. Great place. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Buddy Parrott. I'm here to tell you how to get renewed performance from your car or truck with Restor's Engine Restorer and Lubricant. Now, I can't promise you'll go from this to this, but it will renew compression, horsepower, and overall engine performance to near original levels. Designed for older, high-mileage vehicles, Engine Restorer works with all PTFE products. Automotive performance is my business. Take my advice. Use Engine Restorer and feel the difference in renewed power.
These days, you're working harder than ever. You need a truck that does, too.
Don't move.
Introducing the all-new 1997 Ford F-150. With even more horsepower and torque, and all the legendary strength of an F-Series.
Better get to the Grand Canyon before we do.
The all-new Ford F-150.
With new spark plugs, you get improved performance for a while. But only Bosch Platinum has a pure platinum center electrode that's heat fused. So Bosch Platinum reaches its self-cleaning temperature faster for full engine power and improved fuel efficiency over a longer performance life. Which means you'll replace a lot of other things before you change your Bosch Platinums. Bosch Platinum. the ultimate spark plug.
Hi, we're not home right now. We just got a new jet ski STS watercraft. We'll call back just as soon as we get home.
The Jet Ski STS. It's got all the power, handling, and stability a family needs.
It's your mother. How come you never call?
It's not your typical day at the beach. Women's Pro Beach Volleyball on ABC.
Moving into the closing moments at Surfers Paradise, Australia. You're right on board with the leader of the race, Jimmy Vasser. Next time he crosses the line, there'll be 8 laps to go. On a race that has been punctuated with a number of cautions, a number of key people out of the play. People like Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, Paul Tracy, and Robbie Gordon, Alex Zanardi, all out of the race with, in almost all of those cases, some situation of contact. But Jimmy Vasser has been extremely smooth right from the start. We have his radio channel open to him right now. Really, smoothness is a trademark here, isn't it?
Well, Jimmy's a smooth driver anyway, but it helps when you have the tire situation. When you got a car that's working, it's set up right, and you got a good tire, it's a lot easier to be smooth than it is when you take a Michael situation or even a Paul Tracy, where they've got a tire that's not quite as good on the Goodyear, and they're having to throw their car around and over the curbs to make up that ground.
As the end approaches, let's do some checkup in the pits, beginning with Jan.
Well, first of all, we checked in with Pat Patrick Racing, and it turns out that they have told Scott Pruitt to go to the 7 o'clock position on the fuel. Now, we heard earlier during those radio communications for him to turn it to 9, so we would just assume that that means they've really leaned that down. Now, to comment on your earlier comment between you, Paul, and Danny, you were talking about this is a nice comparison between the Honda power plant and the Ford Cosworth. Just like Goodyear, Ford Cosworth they have realized that they're a little bit short on the power, so starting in Long Beach, for the rest of the season, every single racetrack, they're going to have new development pieces on that Ford Cosworth. So they're also feeling the heat to get more power. Let's now go down to Jackaroo.
Well, Giannis, we watched Greg Moore, who's currently posted in the 3rd position in this race. Let's go back and talk a little bit. We're talking about this tire war, this tire battle. You talked about Goodyear closing down one entire group to go back and build a tire between now and Long Beach. Well, let me tell you what Firestone did immediately following the Miami Grand Prix. They decided that rather than build a tire for a road course in their Tennessee plant, that they needed some more development time. So what they did is put their heads together and realized that they also had a development center in Tokyo, Japan. They are owned by Bridgestone. So what was done is all of the development work for the road racing tire we see here today was done in Tokyo. What was the reason for that? It gave them an additional 3 weeks of development time, 3 weeks of lead time before they had to actually produce the tire and have it here in Australia.
So the race-winning strategies occur not only in the cockpit on the track, but in all the pre-planning. Vasser, Pruitt, Moore, Raul Boesel, Mauricio Gugelmin. You saw Moore. He's a full 7 seconds behind the second-place Scott Pruitt. And Pruitt now sits about 7 seconds back from Jimmy Vasser. So is the San Franciscan Vasser on his way to his 2nd win of the year? Sure looks like it now, but the thing to remember about this track at Surfers is that things happen very quickly and can happen right up to the end. We've seen that in all of the runs here. So while you can be confident, you can't be absolutely sure.
And the most interesting thing about Jimmy was that even as late as October, November last year, he wasn't sure he was going to have a drive with Chip Ganassi. They were still going back and forward a little bit. Chip wasn't sure what he was going to do. These changes have obviously helped. He's had a pole down, a win. He looks on his way to a 2nd win out of 3 races, and his career has really blossomed.
And that battle for the championship, too, remember it was brought even in a tie by the single point for the pole position. Now Jimmy Vasser moves ahead by a single point by leading the most laps in this race. 58 laps now complete. Let's go to Jackaroo.
Well, Paul, we continue to track the major fuel conservation effort by all of the drivers here. And checking with Tom Anderson, here's what they've done with Jimmy Vasser. That last caution opened it up a little bit for them, but not enough to go to full rich. What they've done, according to Tom, is they're running just 4 clicks down. So while they are conserving fuel, they're doing it with the fuel mapping, not with short shifting, and they say if we have to, we do have a little bit in reserve.
But Jimmy Vassar now beginning to pull away even further from Scott Pruitt. So the reserve might be something that pays off here. Scott Pruitt has dropped another 2 seconds behind Vassar.
And also, we've seen that Greg Moore has dropped way back. And, of course, he's got a Mercedes power plant. So maybe that thing is drinking a little bit more fuel than the other two.
There's Greg Moore. And, boy, there's the rest of that group. Raul Boesel and then Gugelmin and the DeFerrin. They're all right together there. That Christian Fittipaldi, he's part of that fight as well. So, still not over and still a chance that there could be a problem as we take a look at the beautiful beaches here at Surfers Paradise. We'll be back for the finish after this.
First, Goodyear revolutionized wet traction design with AquaTread. Now, Goodyear introduces the first tire with a lifetime tread life warranty. The new all-season InfiniTread. Its tread is guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Call 1-800-GOODYEAR.
Look, you're not going to believe this, but Goodyear retailers have lowered prices. An amazing 25% on some of Goodyear's most popular passenger, light truck, and performance tires. Other prices start at $19.99. Hurry, this sale ends soon.
A car engine has as little as 1/1000th of an inch of motor oil protecting its parts. But friction and heat can make motor oil become volatile and vaporize, weakening its ability to protect vital parts. Texaco Havoline Formula 3 is formulated to control volatility, fight vaporization, and provide complete engine protection, no matter what you drive.
Add more life to your car. Take it to the star.
At Honda, we've been refining engine technology non-stop for over 40 years. We do, however, occasionally slow down for a few seconds.
The sky's black, the wind whips. A sinister thunder, killer tornado. Learn what to do to save yourself and others. Primetime gets it done Wednesday on ABC.
The Australian Grand Prix brought to you by Texaco Havoline Formula 3 motor oil. Controls volatility and fights vaporization. Goodyear, #1 in tires. Toyota Motorsports, our minds are always racing. And Budweiser, official sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you.
We're back at Surfers Paradise, Australia, and one of those interesting rules. This race is either a scheduled distance or a specific time. The time length is 2 hours. They're approaching that at about the same time they're approaching the end of the lap. We've just crossed over the 60th lap, and already many of the security people have moved into position to handle winners here, winner's circle, and of course that might be Jimmy Vassar as we continue to watch the battle that sits back 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Gugelmin, DeFerrin, Fittipaldi, Boesel in this fight too.
And I wonder how many of those team managers put that in their equation for their fuel run. How many of them, like Jim McGee, took that into consideration when they were leaning down that fuel?
Let's go down to Scott Pruitt's pits, Jan Beekes.
Well, Paul, we have the answer to that very question. They were in a big panic here in Pat